Hi friends, this is Annie Grace with This Naked Mind, and usually I answer readers' questions, but today for 4th of July I wanted to do something a bit different. I am up here and my husband and I are visiting all of our family, and we were sitting around the campfire a few nights ago, and this is my cousin Mark, and Mark is somebody who has a remarkable story because he's not just a non-drinker, he is basically a never drinker, and really has very unique way in our culture just to never drink and never get into it. And so we were sitting around the campfire and I was very curious, having gone through everything that I've gone through, like, how do you never pick it up? How in this today's society, how does it happen that you never drink and you stick with that despite all the pressure and despite everything that goes on? So I had the idea, well, maybe Mark would join us for a little bit of an interview and tell us a little bit about kind of his experience and his life and why he's made this decision. So Mark, welcome.
Thank you.
And so tell the world, why is it that you just kind of never gave in to all the pressure that is alcohol?
Sure. I had a lot of friends who drank in high school and college and even when it wasn't legal to drink. So I got to watch them and kind of see some of what it did to them, and that never was very attractive to me. And the times I have even tasted it, I don't really like it, so I wouldn't drink small amounts for the taste, and I've seen what it's done when you drink large amounts of alcohol, so I didn't want that to happen either, so I just never really got into it at all.
And then, you're pretty successful in what you do, and he's a professor, he's pretty high up in his company in the finance industry, and there's got to be just a ton of pressure. I'm sure you're especially in your career.
Yep. Absolutely. Since early on, I've had that pressure or that thought of, maybe I should drink, or maybe it's not only socially accepted, but it's socially expected and professionally expected too, that you'll go out and probably enjoy a drink or two or several, and have some stories to tell about how what happened to you the last time you drank a lot. And to me, that just really never looked very attractive. The people that really used it to rely on getting through work and getting to the end of the week and I'm going to drink now tonight, or I'm going to drink with a group in that type of setting, it just was never very attractive to me. It made them almost kind of feel weak, like they needed something else to rely on besides just, hey, I'm strong enough, I'm confident enough personally, and I have to have something else to kind of fall back on.
So have you gotten pressure?
Yeah, I've had pressure, like I said, both professionally and personally. In college, I had a friend that had a little too much money and didn't quite know what to do with it, so he offered me $1,000 to watch me drink a beer. And obviously it was tempting as a college kid, but if I could be bought for $1,000 even at that age, then I could probably be bought a lot of other ways. And I just thought, no, thank you, but no. And it's one of my better friends, so he knew I would say no, but at the same time I think he wanted just to kind of see how it would play out, and so I stuck to my guns.
And do you regret never having been drunk, never having tried it?
I don't. There's no regrets there, really. Like I said, I've seen what it can do to people. I feel like I'm better when I'm not on some sort of other substance, and I feel like I'm sharper, I'm clearer, I can think better, and I'm better at what I do. And I've seen people who I respect a great deal, and they're less of themselves when they're on alcohol.
I think that's really true. I think that so often, I get a lot of questions about, well, how do I hang out and how do I socialize without alcohol? And I think it's fine to the point where people become less of themselves, to the point where your friends have sort of left the building and you're left with, just the alcohol-induced conversation, which is never really fun. So what do you do in those situations when people are just kind of not fun to be around anymore because of the drinking?
Sure. Yeah, and everybody knows people can be kind of funny when they're drunk, but there's definitely a point, and it doesn't take very long before it happens. And to me, if I have to tolerate it, if there's nowhere to go, I'll tolerate it, and I'll kind of just stick to myself. And if there is a place to go, I'll stick it out for what I feel is a decent amount of time, and then I'll excuse myself and exit to go to wherever else is that I want to go.
That's really cool. And then what about, I have to ask you, Mark has lots of kids, and some of them are now teenagers, so what's your plan? What do you say to your kids? How do you talk to them about all this?
Sure. And we've talked to them quite a bit about drinking, So far, even though I would have expected they would have run into it, to my knowledge, they haven't run into alcohol a great deal. And I'll have a junior, would be my oldest, heading into her junior year next year. And we talk pretty openly about it, just the effects of it, what it does. I think the schools are doing a better job too, but we really do make a point to talk openly at home about it and say, this is going to do a lot more harm to you than good. You'll have people who think it's cool and think it's fun and really think it's something that you should do, and once that starts, the pressure tends to steamroll, and then when everybody's doing it and you're the only one who's not, it's harder to stick to your guns. But to this point, we've been fortunate that there hasn't been a great deal of pressure, although I know it'll come, and we'll just keep talking openly about it.
Yeah, I heard recently, like, one of the keys to parenting is just to keep your kids talking, kind of.
Yep.
Not to be judgmental, but also just to try to always engage in conversation.
Absolutely.
So back to the career for a second, do you think there's been any instances where perhaps, you were, I was told, and probably the viewers know, especially if you've read my book, a lot of my drinking did happen in a work environment, in a corporate environment, and I was basically told that being at the bar was akin to being on the golf course in terms of your professional success, and it's where the deals happened, and it's where the promotions were got, and, all this sorts of stuff. So it was a big... I didn't grow up with drinking parents, so I didn't have anybody telling me drinking was good, but I didn't have anybody telling me drinking was bad. And so I just kind of said, oh, well, okay, if this is part of it, then this is what I'm going to do. And fast forward 10 years, and I was pretty addicted, and it wasn't a fun place to be. But do you think that has that rung true for you in your experience? Do you think that there are situations where, that deals do happen at the bar that you perhaps aren't part of?
It's possible. I do think there have been occasions in my career where, had I been more willing to stick around and stay later and drink more or drink any, and be part of something that, maybe I would have been given more opportunities. But again, to me, that's compromising my integrity. That's getting somewhere where I may want to go in a way that I don't really want to take to get there. So, in a professional setting, there's been a lot of instances where everybody's drinking, we're having a fancy meal with a lot of wine, or we're having drinks here during our meal and then going out afterwards. I'm okay going out, and I'm okay spending time with folks in that type of setting. But once it gets past a certain point, they're no fun to be around, and I've made the choice to never have alcohol in those settings on the front end or throughout the night as it goes on. It may have cost me, like I said, a few professional opportunities, but to me, it's been worth it. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Jack. Thanks for tuning in from Chicago. If you have any questions for Mark, just post them. We'll answer them. But I do have one more question, and it's, I guess, really about, there's such a belief that alcohol is key to having fun. And did you ever kind of, I feel like you're pretty fun, Mark. Have fun with Mark. And did you ever feel like, oh, well, maybe from that perspective, from your perspective of never drinking, what do you think about that? Sure. I know a lot of people who maybe are just a little bit more fun when they're drinking, but that doesn't mean that you can't be when you're not. And I've thought, hey, if I need alcohol to be fun and to be fun to be around, I'd rather not take that route. I have a lot of former coworkers and current coworkers who didn't used to drink. They would start work and start their career and have conviction that, hey, I probably won't. There's no need for that. And then as they go along, they feel like, well, I need to be able to loosen up, or I need to be able to be more engaging with my coworkers and with other people. I'm just more fun. I'm better when I've had a few drinks. To me, that doesn't really hold water. It falls flat pretty quickly. So hopefully I can still be fun without it. Yeah, and I think, and I've talked about this before, but the kicker about drinking for fun is that, drinking numbs your senses. It numbs your ability to feel, and it numbs your ability to feel bad things, which people think is a huge benefit, but then it numbs your ability to feel good things, which ends up, you can't numb selectively. And actually, over time, it really robs you of your ability to have fun. So that's something I appreciate about both you and your wife, is like, just, everything's intact. Mark's wife it's like hanging out, it's like being a kid again, hanging out with her, because it's literally so much fun. And I think that, drinking, that is coming back from me after a few years of not drinking, but I think that it definitely, it takes that away, and there's neurochemical reasons that it takes that away, and then just, psychological reasons. When you believe you need something to have fun, when you don't have it, you're not going to have fun. That's the bottom line. Like, your belief is so powerful. So
Anyway, I think this was really good and really enlightening, and I hope that you all have a wonderful 4th of July, and that hopefully this provided a little motivation that, you know, life can be just freaking awesome without alcohol. So have a great day, and this is Annie Grace, author of This Naked Mind.